Hey, welcome back. I am sat in my bedroom still because it is freezing. We've got some gel nail art today, Christmas nail art. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Drop me a like or a subscribe. So here I am using Nail Vanities and I just love that colour. Look how pigmented this is. This is number 134. So I use Nail Vanity 134 and Nail Vanity White. Now we've got um, a gonk, we've got the uh, knitted jumper type nail, we've got snowflakes, we've got a Christmas tree. So hopefully, hopefully they'll turn out all right, and hopefully, um, it might help somebody with the mistakes and the successes. So I popped 2 coats on this of this on. Hold it upside down, let the gel settle before I pop it in to cure. And in it goes. I have got my next gel set in mind because we had a spattering of snow. I want to do some snowy wintry nails, so I'll be doing that this afternoon. Yeah, so this is Nail Vanities White, again very pigmented, and you'll see me battling with some fluff in a minute. There we go. No, it's still there. Now I've tried to zoom in as much as I can so you can actually see what I'm doing. But in hindsight, what I should have done is crop the frame when I was editing, which is what I'll do next time. But there we go, there it is. But we live and learn, don't we? And it's not too bad. Some bits are out of shot and I've taken them out. So just letting that gel settle before I pop it into cure. And there's the first one. There are 5 in this set. And although they're not perfect, I was quite pleased. There are a few errors, but my lines are getting a little better. Not perfect, but better. So I've done 2 coats on that, and I've top coated it, and we're going in. I think this is the gonk. So we're starting with his beard. Very fine little lines because we build this up in layers. So we want sort of squiggly little lines. Just out of shot. I do come back in a minute. I hope I do anyway. But you'll see throughout this set just how messy my desk gets. 5 different designs, and yeah, I try and keep it tidy, but is anybody else like that? Does anybody else get a messy desk by the time they finish doing a set? That goes into cure. Let's come back out. A shorter liner brush now to get a little thicker wiggly line. This is all about the layers for this beard. So back to the gel, the white gel from Nail Vanity. I'm trying not to go over the original lines too much so that you can see the fine lines through it, behind it. Just gives a bit of depth. Now, I'm upstairs on my bed, as is my dog, so if you start to hear snoring, I haven't dropped off, it's not me. So you can see there's a bit more depth there. We're not finished yet, but that will go into cure. Now, I was out of shot for this, I do apologise, but they are just lines with black gel. A very fine liner. We're creating a little loop. My loop isn't incredibly tidy, I have to confess, but it doesn't look awful, so I left it. And I did say that I'd leave the not so good bits in too, didn't I? This is going to be little lights, picking up the colours from the other nails. I've got a gold gel paint, which I think is Molly Lac, and I use the Nail Vanity 134 as well because that's in the other nails. Just ties them all together. Now I get a little black dot. Don't get a black dotting tool. I get a dotting tool and put little blobs of black where the lights are going to sit. And then that goes into cure before I add the colour. So we're back to Mr. Gonk's beard. You see the desk getting more and more untidy. I have about God knows how many brushes. So I'm cleaning the brush. I think I'm doing his nose now. I do come back to do some more to his beard though. So again, this is a Molly Lac gel paint rather than a gel polish. So it's nice and thick. for most things you can use your gel polish, but I wanted a bit of thickness to this nose. Depth, that's the word I'm looking for, depth. Now, although this gonk isn't perfect by any means, and I've seen much, much better, this is the first one I've been happier with. But I think we're all guilty of picking our work apart, aren't we? I know I am. I'll do something and then I'll look at it and I think, oh, that's rubbish. I could have done so much better. But, this one I feel I'd improved a little bit on anyway. So popping that nose into Cure. Now I do come out of shot here, I am sorry, but all I'm doing with the dotting tool is just popping little blobs of colour on, and then I'm using a dotting tool again, a different one, a finer one, just to pull that colour into a point so it looks more like a light than a blob, hopefully. So you see we've got gold lights and we've got NV134, which is a nice plum colour. It's beautiful. It just ties in with everything else. Now this nail is the Christmas tree nail, so I'm coming in with that nice thick gold Moly-Lac gel paint, putting a thick line in because we're going to pull the colours through when we complete our tree. So I'm doing several lines. I'm only using 2 colours because I'm not brave enough to use 3. But they do tie in, the colours tie into the other nails as well. We're not curing that just yet, so we're putting the second colour in, which is the same colour as I used on the gonk's nose. Just popping that in between the gold lines, making it nice and thick. I'll pop a bit on the bottom as well, I believe, because I thought it wasn't big enough. And actually, when I'd finished it, it could have been bigger, it could have been better, but it still looks pretty. So you can see there, little lines. Now I'll get a small liner brush and starting at the bottom, pulling up to the point, applying a little bit of pressure so those colours come through. Now I can't take the credit for this design because I saw somebody else do it on Instagram. I've seen lots of people, I can't remember who the original one was. So it's not my design, just something I'm having a go at. There we are. Ooh. It's not what you want to do when you've got loads of dusty, sparkly bits of rubbish on your desk. So with this liner, I'm just flicking out little bits of the tree to make it more tree-like. So I'm just pulling what's already there into a little kind of flick and then feathering the bottom of the tree here. Gives it a bit of texture. And again, flicking those edges out. You see, it could have been bigger, couldn't it? So pop in a little bit of black now, Nail Vanity black gel, just at the bottom of the tree to give it a stump or a trunk. That's it, that's the word, trunk. And on the top, bit of gold, nice blob from a dotting tool of gold, and then I get another dotting tool and pull it into a star shape. So if you haven't got a dotting tool with a tiny, tiny little dot, you need one. They're fantastic. Cheapest chips, I think it was maybe Amazon. I don't know. Got it ages ago. So yeah, just pulling that into a nice little star shape to sit on top of our tree, and then we cure. So there's the lights. That's a very quick, simple, easy design. Now I can't remember whether I gloss or matte this. I think I gloss this one. Gloss top I'm using at the minute. The top coats I'm using today are from Neo Nails. A bit of a combination of products today, but it's just practice, so it doesn't matter. It's not on anybody's fingers that they're different products. So back to our gonk, and I'm just outlining his hat now. Again, this is a Moly-Lac gel paint. I wanted the thickness because, you know, it's a hat. And now we're going to start to pull that colour through to fill in the hat. One thing I did today that I've never done before successfully, and although it wasn't entirely successfully, it was a lot better than I've done before. There's a tiny bit of shading. Wasn't brave enough to go further than a tiny bit, but I think I will in future. My problem is I'll do something and it looks all right, and then I feel the need to do a bit more, and I completely ruin it. You know, in detail, sometimes simple is better. But then you go on things like Instagram and you see these wonderful designs that are so intricately, I will say it, detailed. You think, oh, I need to do more. But until I've mastered the simple, I really ought to stop trying to be complicated. Just refining that line again. There we go. Popping him into cure, I believe. There we go. So we've got our Christmas tree back, And I look at it and I think, yeah, it's okay, but it's a bit small, so I fill in the background with some snow. I'm using my tiny little dotting tool because that way I can get bigger blobs and then tiny, tiny little specks of snow in between. And that's what it would have looked like shiny, but I matte coat that one in a minute. That goes into cure and we're back to our gonk. So now I'm going in with a tiny little bit of shading. So I've got like a greyish colour just to go under his nose and under the hat around his nose. And then where the hat would fall into a crease. And then I get another grey and I start to fill in the beard where the purple shows through. This gives the beard another layer of depth because you can see the white through. I'm just mixing my grey now. It makes it look a bit fuller. But rather than it being just a white blob, it, looks a little bit like hair. Thick, wiry beard. My dog's dreaming. This may get noisy, I apologise. So pop that, I think I pop that back in now. Oh no, a little bit of a highlight. So I flatten this brush so it's got, so I can do a tiny little line in sort of increments, if you like, because it is a tiny, tiny area. And I'm just popping it on, bringing it off, and then moving to the next bit, just to give his nose a little bit of a highlight in white. And now it goes into cure. So we've brought our tree back and we're going to top coat. So again, Nail Nails Urban Graffiti matte top coat, I believe this is. I do have other brands of products. I just prefer Nail Vanity, but for things like this, I'll and top coat. For practice nails, it's fine. So back out with our gonk. And I'm just going to thicken that, not all of the hat, just the front of the hat that looks like it's slumped onto his nose. Just want that a little bit thicker, and then I have a little pot that I keep to one side that I just top up ever so slightly with clear acrylic for when I'm, I think it's sugaring they call it, but it's not glitter, it's just clear acrylic, just to give that textured effect. And I keep it separate because I don't want to contaminate the clear acrylic I'm going to use on people. So I've got a little old pot that I use. I put a tiny amount in. There we go. So pouring some clear acrylic onto that hat now, just to make that look a bit thicker, a bit more textured, and that goes into cure. So there is our matte Christmas tree. Let's brush the dust off our gonk. And I matte top coat him. He didn't look too bad, does he? Not perfect, but not bad. Now I do a nice thick coat of top coat on this just because there are some fuller parts and I want every little crack top coated. And he goes into cure, and that's what he looks like. So I think this is our cable knit design nail with a snowflake. So I'm pulling a long liner brush through that gel polish. And I couldn't decide whether to do horizontal or vertical, but this is what I went with. So pulling that line through with the liner brush, I put a little bit more gel on because we're going to coat it in clear acrylic again, the powder, to get that effect. And this is me faffing now. This is nothing to do with thickness. Now it's me faffing. Is it straight enough? I have already top coated this nail, by the way, because I wanted the gloss behind the matte knit look. So I've got a shorter liner brush now, and I'm putting two small vertical lines next to each other, and then a gap, and then two below it, and so on and so forth. Trying my hardest not to shake. Now you drag the corner of one of the lines, the bottom corner, to the top of the opposite line below. I hope that makes sense. In my head it does. To make that sort of that knit effect, that squiggly line. So there's my little pot. It was a pot I had when I first started acrylic, and I kept it because it's little and it's shallow, so you don't, you can keep just enough in there to do this kind of thing with and not ruin your other pots. So we've sugared that or coated that, whatever you call it, and that's gone in the lamp. Now, long liner brush again, very thin liner brush. This, I believe, is my star. So I'm mapping this out just with little dots to tell me where I need to put my lines as straight as I possibly can, which for me, I struggle with straight lines. I struggle with curvy lines too, actually. But I wasn't too disappointed. So we're not coating this one with anything. So I cure this in stages just so I don't smudge everything and cock it all up. That goes in the lamp to cure in a minute. Ah, yes. I'm removing my original dot because that's not where my line ended up. So I'd got some rubbing alcohol on this brush and was just wiping it off, and then I get a lint-free wipe, put some rubbing alcohol on it again, and give it a little wipe. We don't need any smudges on our nails. Thank you. I keep IPA alcohol in little spray bottles just for this kind of thing. You could use gel residue wipe off solution as well. That's in my kit box because I had lots of toes to do last week for Christmas. There we go. And we cure that. So just wiping off the excess. Now, don't do what I did. This is something daft. I've just brushed all that off onto what's underneath me, the paper. But sitting on that is that brush that I used to clean up. So then now that will have powder residue of acrylic. So when I go to clean up next, you'll see it's not great. So 2 long lines down the sides of that cable knit that we've done. And that doesn't look too bad, does it, that cable knit? So back again with my little pot. Over the pot, we just sprinkle the clear acrylic over those 2 lines that I've just done. Tap it off and pop it in the lamp. Back to our star. No, snowflake. Coming from the center point now, out. And back to the center point from the opposite side. I think I was most pleased with how fine I managed to get my lines. And they look quite even, don't they? They don't look too bad at all. So pop that back in the lamp now. Out comes the cable knit. Brush it off again onto all over where that brush is. Silly Manda. and I'm just adding some dashes to the side of that line that we just did on both sides. Tap it off, and in the lamp it goes. Back to our snowflake. Now with the smaller of the liner brushes, I map out where I'm going to put my points. Dragging that brush through the gel polish so there's no globby bits on the end. So I'm just popping little dots as central as I can get it, at the same level all the way around, and that's where the peaks will be. So just painting those tiny little peaks in. Trying to get the end of the peak to meet the start of the next one, so it flows. I've seen some absolutely beautiful hand painted snowflakes, and I'll aim to get there, but at the minute I need to keep it simple. That's all the way around there. Little peaks, little tiny peaks, and we pop that into cure. So we've got our cable knit, and I have brushed it off. And we're coming in with white. So again, I'm just mapping where I'm going to be putting my lines for my snowflake. Tiny little dots just helps me. Everybody's got their own way, that just helps me. Excuse me. So from the centre of that cable, I'm pulling up and through. I want a nice fine line. And then again to the other dots that I've put on there. I was out of shot, so I just took it out. But look now, you can see I'm just tidying up that mark, that line, to make it a little bit finer, and it's not on top of my cable. But that brush has now got acrylic powder in it. I mean, it didn't work out too badly, but it could have been awful. So back to our snowflake, and now just put in 2 lines now on each line. very fine, very delicate. What you don't see just by the side of me is the little sort of rest. It was actually for a rolling pin, but I nicked it for nail art, and I've got about 15 liner brushes all there with gel polish on from doing this set. Now, if I'd done this again, if I do this again, I will add some little dots from a dotting tool because it looks a little bit sparse, but you know, it's simple, it's clean, lines are clean. So back to our cable knit snowflake. Putting those little tiny peaks. Do be careful with your brushes as well when you've got your lamp on. Um, if you can see that sort of line just behind the paper, I've got something blocking the LED and UV light so that I can paint in front of it and I can put my brushes down there. I have set brushes before, so I learnt the hard way. So now just pulling through those tiny little lines, little spikes on a snowflake. And we pop that into cure. So there we are. Just to top coat that one. And I can't remember whether it's matte or gloss. Soon find out. It doesn't look too bad, does it? I mean, it's not as detailed as it could be, but what's there is tidy enough. Pop that into cure. Now I glossed the top half of this because I wanted the matte to be the cable bit, and it was nice to have the contrast of the matte and the gloss together. And then I sprinkle it with a pinch of glitter. Who doesn't love a sparkle? You know me, I've got to have a sparkle somewhere. I don't want it everywhere, I just want it on the top. Look. Doesn't that look pretty? Just fold that glitter away. And there we are, there's our snowflake. But it's me, and I need a bit of glam. So, tiny, tiny little gem goes on, but it's all that's needed, I think. I could have loaded them on and I think it would have been too much because there's so much going on in some of the other nails that, you know, I'm trying to keep it simple, I promise, I'm trying. So I've picked it up with my picker-upper, blob of nail glue. There we go. Make sure it's in the right place. And that's that one done. And there's those two together. That's two of the set. And there's the set together. Not bad, are they? Not perfect, but not bad. Chuck us a like, chuck us a subscribe, and I'll see you soon.